When we're afraid of ourselves, we're going to be afraid of other people.
Welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I'm Dr. Dawn Earhart Whitty, your guide on a transformative journey of personal development and discussions of universal truths. Join me and a panel of life coaches and spiritual leaders from around the world discussing how to handle some of life's greatest challenges. We will be sharing stories of love, faith, and inspiration with you, our faithful listeners, to live your happiest and most fulfilling life, full of purpose and passion for yourself, your families, and the world. We are here to be the change we wish to see. Let the conversation begin. Hello, and welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I am so excited today. I've met a new friend, a new sister. Her name is Ellen Benfatti. She is an artist, an author, a speaker dedicated to exploring the transformative power of creativity. After discovering that art became a way to regulate her nervous system and heal from life's challenges, she developed a body of work that invites others to reconnect with our authentic selves. Through her paintings, writing, and personal story, Ellen inspires people to transform adversity into creativity, resilience, and hope. I love that. And her book is titled Caterpillar Soup. I love the name of that. So welcome, Ellen.
Hello. It's so nice to be here with you, Dawn. I was so looking forward to this today.
I know we had a before recording chat and we found out we're sisters from another mother.
Totally. It was so great. So I was
I know.
all week, that's why I booked the very first one that was available. So I can
Well,
see you again as quickly as possible.
I'm so happy to have you here. Now, I always like to start the podcast off with a quote, and I found a quote from you, and I love this quote. You said, "I create safe quantum containers where art, story, and resonance become medicine." And ooh, that just gave me chills.
I just got goosebumps from my own thing because it's not from me. It's from Source. It's not
Yes,
from me. So that I have the rolling goosebumps.
I do
Wow.
too, all over. So,
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about your journey, where you started and how you got to where you are?
Well, it was completely accidental. So I want to say that, 20 years ago-ish, I went through an awakening, what you would call, some people would say an atomic bomb, like a blow up in my life, like everything started to fall apart. And at the same time, I knew that it was, I know now, 20 years later, that there was an initiation going on. And when that process started happening, I didn't really know how to navigate it. I didn't know what to do, but I kept getting this internal prodding to start painting, and it was so random for me. It was so random, and I questioned it, but I also embraced it. And during this awakening that happened for me, I would start to have what some people would say spontaneous, like information would come to me spontaneously. I could be sleeping at night, I could be in meditation, I could just be in the grocery store, but I would start to get these awarenesses and things, visions, nighttime visions that were so profound, I didn't know what to do with it. And I kept feeling like, well, what if I tried to paint them? When this awakening started happening, for me, the initiation was on a cruise ship where I went to go get a massage, and I decided to allow this woman from South Africa to do what's called Reiki on me. Now, she had to bribe me to get me to do it. I wasn't game. I was more like, well, you can feel into it. Like she was like, I intuitively feel I should work with you. And I'm like, you can be into it, but I'm not. I just want a massage. But she bribed me, and so I went and did it. She said if I didn't like it as well as a massage, that I would get a massage as well. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. Well, that night I had this prophetic dream that brought me to the future. And I'm a dreamer. I've always been a dreamer. I've always gotten, I've seen world events at nighttime in dreams. So I'm gifted that way. My mom called me Sarah Bernhardt growing up. I didn't know what it meant. I know now it was a drama queen. So I was always a very sensitive child, right? I never felt like I belonged anywhere. When I was at school, I played alone. Um, I didn't come from money. My mom was on, we were on state aid a lot of times. So I had like a state aid lunch, so people knew that, I was just kind of like excluded from the crowd. Let's just say that. So that was my upbringing. And then I go into this thing for this Reiki thing, and all of a sudden, this woman opens my chakras, and I am thrown into a world that I had never really experienced before. I had been spiritual. I had a walk with Jesus. I understood the gifts of the spirit. Like I understood that God's powerful. I had prophetic dreams. I knew, but once my chakras were opened, there was no more, the veil was gone. And so I started to get these supernatural downloads, taken to the tree of life one time in a dream. It was spectacular, spectacular. Every language was being spoken in many dialects, not even just human. I have goosebumps. Music was playing, faces going in and out of the tree. I mean, it was just like this movement, this dance, this beauty. And so as the years unfolded, that happened in 2003. My husband and I separated in 2004. Uh, I found a Reiki master in 2005. I started walking down this trail, and these visions kept coming and coming and coming. And eventually I thought, you know what? Maybe I should paint them. I didn't really, I knew I love writing. I've always loved writing. I excelled at writing, in early, high school, things like that. And I had published some poems in my 20s and 30s. I took a course on writing children's books. Like I was a writer. I always have been a writer, but I also was a mortgage loan officer and on the computer a lot, going through a lot of things. And I was like, I do not want to be on the computer. So that was the initiation. Just this little tiny thought, I wonder if I could paint this. And that's what I want to talk about when it comes to creativity, especially for people who are on the journey of awakening right now. It's so important that those little things you get, it's so easy for the ego to discount it. Like it's not important, right? The ego wants to keep you safe. Like you construct this ego your whole life, and it's all about boxing you in, keeping you safe. It's like your bumper pads. Remember back in the day when I had kids, we put bumper pads on. Now they don't do that. Like my kids didn't do that because the kids can suffocate. Like, things evolve, right? There's no more bumper pads. So I would say that your ego is like constructed to be your bumper pad. Like it's trying to keep you safe, but it smothers us.
Yes. Yes.
It
And I
smothers.
loved, I want to touch on what you just said. Those little breadcrumbs or puzzle pieces that we get along the way, they mean something. And when you put them all together, they form a big, beautiful picture, but they don't always make sense to us at the time that we get them.
No, they didn't. And the thought to paint. So the painting erupted at my first Reiki attunement where this angel came and stood before me. And it was, my eyes were closed. The Reiki master's doing the attunement. There's a fire going, there's sage burning, there's a drummer in the background. I mean, we're talking the stage is set. And I have this vision of this angel that comes and stands in front of me. And this angel is very tall, lean, neither male nor female, begins to blow on my feet. The most loving energy I've ever experienced. I know now what it feels like to go to the other side. That's all I can say. I'm not afraid of death. After that experience, I'm no longer afraid of death. And this angel blew on me. And as this angel blew on me, it came out as pink pixie dust. And they knelt down. They were on their knees blowing on my feet. And the dust came up and turned into red and then blue and then purple above my head and it spiraled. Well, I didn't realize that I was crying the whole time. Well, afterwards, everyone was like, wow, Ellie, whatever you experienced, we all felt it. Like that was huge. What happened? And I shared. And my Reiki master had set out some crayons and markers and just computer paper. And she said, Ellie, that was so powerful. I think that, everybody should journal what you experienced. And, Ellie, you might want to draw that out. That was it. That was like in 2005. And so as these visions continued to come, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should paint them. And I literally started out with Crayola watercolors on computer paper because that's what she showed me. I was like, well, I want to paint. She just had markers. I just get some Crayola watercolors from like Save-Ons, Walgreens, whatever it was, right? I didn't go to some art store. I didn't go buy a big canvas. I just had to get out what I was experiencing. And I started out with that little angel and the wispy angel, and and I remember one of my sons coming home after staying with a friend for the weekend, and I had them all laid out on the formal dining room table. And he was like, Mom, did you work? And I'm like, no, I painted. And he said, you better get back to work or we're going to starve. He was a jokester, but he was like, those are nothing, right? And I want to go back to that. This nudge to paint was not celebrated. Nobody in
Mm.
my life, and that's something that's important. My painting created the safe container for me. I'm going back to what the quote was. My painting was my cocoon. It was a safe container for me. And I know now that I was self-soothing and that I was regulating my nervous system. I didn't know that back then. The breadcrumb was just paint. That's all the Holy Spirit would say, just paint. And I remember talking to my mother about it and going, Mom, I just have this feeling I should paint. I don't know why. And she's like, oh, your grandmother was a painter. Just paint. She was my only fan. And as moms
You know what?
always.
I want to stop you there. And I really want to emphasize what you just said, because I tell people this all the time. Nobody has to believe in your dreams. Your dreams were given to you for a reason. And sometimes we let other people stop us and tell us, you're crazy. Why you do that? That's impossible. Whatever it is, the dialogue is, right? Your dreams were given to you. And I really wanted to highlight, because again, my whole body is got goosebumps all
Me
over it,
too.
because that is such an important thing that you kept doing it.
I kept doing it in face of losing my home, in face of losing my career, in face of losing my husband, in face of losing my children. I lost everything that was important to me, my source of income. And I continued to do it. And it got so bad at one point when I lost the house that I traded title for one of my cars for a 1986 RV and moved into it. And I drove to Sedona and I lived next to the creek for 3 months. And this was my grieving process. This was my letting go, my complete letting go. And I painted 12 goddesses. 12 goddesses. I had this idea of like 12 like tarot cards, and nobody was painting what I was painting, like out there in the world. I was just playful with it. And I look back on that season and it was so powerful. Uh, my painting became my refuge. It became my anchor. And can you imagine if I had let the comment that my son had or what other people were saying, all the chatter behind my back? I mean, people really thought I had lost my mind. They really did. And they treated me that way. And I want to make that very clear. And I don't hold a grudge. Like they played that role in the play, right? They wore those masks and they were my gurus. They blessed me because their their lack of acknowledgement for what I was experiencing gave me more space to keep pursuing it. Nobody got in the way and muddled it. Like I say, my mom gave me no boundaries as a child. And some people can look at that and go, wow, your mother didn't love you or care for you. I always see it as I chose her and I had to be in no container. That was who I needed to be. I had to experience freedom on every level, right? And so it's interesting. So that is important when you have that breadcrumb, when you're going through an awakening. Everything's a vibration, everything's materializing through vibration. And so when your vibration raises, when you go into a state of creativity, your vibration raises. Let's just acknowledge that, number one. So now if you've got people who are denying their creativity, they're just doing the status quo, they're doing the day to day in and day out, they're here, you're here with them, and you start going, you know what, I have an urge to paint. I have an urge to this, that. You're moving up on the Richter scale. Like you're going up. Their vibrations down here. It's just no longer compatible. It's not personal.
Right,
It's not
right.
personal. It's really
Exactly.
not.
Goosebumps everywhere. What you are saying speaks to my soul on every single level. And it's like, it's not that you're up here and they're down there. It's not that. It's just
No,
that you're living
the
into
frequency
your
change.
highest potential. Yes. Yes.
It's a
And
frequency change.
nobody, we live in this world that tells us this is what you need to do. And this is the life that has to happen. And, X, Y, and Z and all the different things. Right. But when somebody steps outside of that X, Y, and Z programming, they start like seeing all kinds of miracles, all kinds of blessings, all kinds of alignments, all kinds of things come into your life that had you stayed in that box, you would have never experienced.
And what's interesting is the reason my book is called Caterpillar Soup is because I tell the memoir of awakening that you can put, I paint women with no faces. You can put any person into that painting. I've done that intentionally for 20 years. I wrote this book, Caterpillar Soup, Memoirs of a Butterfly, through the perspective of the caterpillar, because we always focus on the butterfly. Well, the butterfly doesn't live that long. If you look at the cycle of a butterfly, they don't live that long. But you go through a lot as a caterpillar. And when the butterfly lays eggs, I had to do a little bit of research on this before I wrote the book. When when the caterpillar lays the eggs, or when the butterfly lays the caterpillar eggs, the butterfly just flutters away. There's no parenting. And I can't help it but equate that to how we pop into this dimension. We have physical parents, but depending on the parent you had, you may not have had any parenting. Doesn't mean you can't become a butterfly.
Well, and I liked what you said earlier, according to the Akashic records. And I always say, look, I don't know what I don't know, but I think there's some wisdom in this, that we choose our parents, we choose our all of our relationships, we choose our children before we even incarnate here on earth. Now, again, I'm not saying that's the way it is, but I'm saying it's a beautiful way to think about it. So you're not like, why did this happen to me? It's like, oh, I chose this to become the person I was meant to become.
Yes. Yes. And so that's important because my story and what I talk about is equating um, spiritual awakening to creative awakening, that they go hand in hand. That if you're really going through, and this is my opinion, everybody's got opinions, but my opinion based on my life experience is that if you are truly going through an awakening, the byproduct of that naturally will be God reconnecting you to your natural born gifts that you came in with, God's source, your higher self, your avatar, whatever you want to call it. We all have different things that people are calling it. But at the end of the day, if you truly are going through an awakening, coming into higher consciousness, the natural byproduct is going to be that the creativity is going to show up. And the reason that my voice is just like shouting this right now to people is because there was nobody there to support me when I went through it. And I want my voice to be here now because more people are awakening in this moment, because every person, you listen to Wayne Dyer, every person that raises their vibration to a higher level, depending on what frequency you're at, affects thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, millions, billion, right? And so as we're all waking up, it's important that people understand that your gifts are going to come online. Some people all of a sudden can spontaneous channel higher beings. Some people are painting. Some people are, writing books and bringing in information like Eckhart Tolle. These things are happening. And so I just wanted to be that voice that says, whether somebody believes in you or you sound crazy, I don't care what it is. Keep going. Just trust the process, trust your creative process, because you said it, at the end, it paints a bigger picture and all the pieces of the puzzle fall together. And the more you trust it, the more is given. It's like faithful in a little, faithful in much. God says, if you're faithful in a little thing, I will give you more. I will give you more. I will give you more. More and more and more of the gifting comes online. Now I'm channeling, ascended masters, and I've done so many things. TikTok doesn't even know what category to put me in. I'm serious.
When I do my podcast, I have got to meet so many incredible people. But girlfriend, I am telling you, my whole body has been on fire. Everything you're speaking directly to my soul. And one of the things I totally believe in is that when we share our stories of the things that we've learned along the way, we give others that, oh, I never saw it this way. I never thought of it like that before. Or, I never heard this before. That's a different way of looking at it. So that's why I have this podcast. It's the secrets of being, like those things that we learned, so that maybe when we share them, somebody else's path can be they don't feel so alone. And B, they can say, oh, there's a light at the others on, the other side of the tunnel, or, I can get through this too. And that's why it's important to have these conversations and share those things that have happened to us. So I
Yeah.
want, so tell me about your program, because you've put together a program. I was checking out your website, stalking you, and how do you help others, can create that container with art and, help them with
Well,
the
if
medicine?
my favorite thing to do with people now is I trademarked something called Resonance by Ellie. I kind of wish I had called it Resonance with Ellie. I know I struggled with it in the beginning, but it's Resonance by Ellie. So what I discovered along the way, now I'm a Reiki master and I can do physical healings and I'm a family constellation facilitator. I can work quantum systemically. I can work generationally. I can do all of that, right? But what I love doing is I love working with the public. I love working with people one on one and in group, where I take a painting and I put it in front of them and I take them on a journey through a guided visualization with their eyes closed. And then I have them open their eyes and look at the painting. And then their subconscious mind will project onto the painting that which they are stuck in. It happens 100% of the time. And I learned this, I was given this directly from source through my own creative process. What I started to recognize after 20 years, and you said it beautifully, you never know where it's going to lead and what it leads to at the end. If I could wave my magic wand and I could do anything, it would be events where people come in and the paintings, and I've done this in Sedona, I've got 13 paintings. It's opened up, the studio's opened up, and people come in and they're guided through that process, because in a very short period of time, I can help people get past what their subconscious mind is looping them on. That's the best way I can serve them, right? But I also can do it one on one through Zoom and things like that too. So I offer packages. I have like the caterpillar package and the butterfly package. So people can work with me with packages where they can have one on one. But I really do enjoy doing things publicly in large groups as well. So I can do either or, but that's really what I'm focused on. Is I'm fascinated with the subconscious mind because I've learned so much about myself through this exercise of painting. And what I started to recognize is that our subconscious mind is it's like the program behind the program that's running the main program. And when you can actually start working with your subconscious, you can move quickly into higher elevated states of consciousness. And that shows up in the real world. It shows up in your daily life. It's something that benefits you in and day out.
Yeah, Dr. Bruce Lipton says that 95% of what we do is coming from the subconscious, and we're not
Exactly.
even aware of it. And that's
Yes.
95%. So
Mhm.
we're literally operating on autopilot.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that what I've noticed through showing my work for so many years now is that I'm just gonna say it. I have this painting that I did, and it's pinned on my TikTok, and I had a new follower that followed me the other day, and he said in the comments, I see a man and a woman embracing one another in this painting. It's just an abstract painting. I've got all my light language swirling in it. And I was just like so thrilled by that because that's what I like to teach people. I like them to be able to, and it all started out of frustration. I would be showing and people would be walking by art walk, on their phone, not paying attention. And I'd think, all these artists have, thought of something, bought the cups, painted it, hauled it here, hung it, paid to, sometimes we had to pay to hang, or we're giving up half our commission when it sells, like all the things, excuse me. And it's like, I was like, you know, I need to teach people how to see art. And it started out with just that vision of teaching people how to actually take the time to view art so they could enjoy it, especially abstract art. And then miraculously, people started to tell me what they were seeing, and then I connected it to all my quantum work that I did as a practitioner. And I started to understand that I could use the canvas as a mirror into somebody's subconscious. And then I could weave that through words, the language of love of Bert Hellinger, and I could bring it back in. And so the things that they were pushing away, because what we push away persists, it stays in a loop. If they could see it on a canvas. So I asked this guy in the message, I said, who is it that you long to embrace?
And what was his response?
Crickets, because that's
Because he
deep.
probably did.
Couldn't
Yeah.
identify. That's why you need to be with a practitioner. That's why you need to be with me to walk through that process, because there is it's psychotherapy too. So there is a lot of other things that go into it. The language of love, integrating it. I've had people see a past one that died, and that's on the canvas. I've had people see themselves as a child sitting. I said that one woman saw herself sitting as a child, and she said, and I can see a trail out the window. And I said, well, let's follow that trail. And so then I guide you through that. So, it does, I'm certified in techniques that help to bring it all home. It's not like you don't need some hand holding with it. But the cool thing is that then somebody could take that practice once they learn how to do it, and they could use it as a form of a yantra, which is what I called my paintings from the very beginning, guided like a visual meditation. So it could just be beautiful art in your house, but it could also be something that you work with daily to help work with your subconscious mind.
Wow. That's super powerful. Um, can you talk a little bit more about the subconscious mind? Because I don't think people realize how much of our day-to-day lives are coming from that place that we're not even consciously aware of. And how does that affect us when we're just simply operating on autopilot is essentially what we're doing.
Well, I want to say that the subconscious mind and I think the ego are very much connected, right? Because you've got the ego facet, which is the bumper pads trying to keep you safe. And then you've got the program behind it that's informing the ego. Why are you being protected? I'm not a doctor. I want to make that very clear. I don't prescribe medicine. I don't prescribe, I'm not a doctor. Okay. So I'm just talking as an artist and what I have learned through self-discovery. Okay. But what I think, is the most important thing about the subconscious is that those programs are what cause us to be afraid of who we are. And that fear is what causes us to reject others. So if you want to have goosebumps right now, thank you,
Me too.
Source. I just did a TikTok on this morning too, so it was already fresh. I was already getting it, but it's like goosebumps. So when we're afraid of ourselves, we're going to be afraid of other people. And this is all stuff I learned through art walks. Seriously, people coming in and being afraid of, a bright orange painting that I painted. Like they did the color like was offensive to them. And I would be curious about that. I would be, how could somebody be afraid of a color? Like people would judge me and criticize me on how much use of color I use. And I thought, that is so freaking weird. But I didn't think about it as their subconscious is telling them that. I just thought, wow, like you're super narrow minded. No, like what is going on? So I want to say that all of these awakenings, these epiphanies I've had have come through just daily living, the everyday living of living out a life as a painter. But what I have come to understand through my own process is that my fear of who I was caused me to be afraid of other people. And when we're afraid of other people or we're afraid of life in general, it creates division, it creates competition, it doesn't create collaboration. It creates a right or wrong version of life. You're right, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, you're right. And what does Rumi say? Meet me in the field where there is no wrong or right. And so it just was amazing for me through this self-discovery of this creativity and then putting it out there and getting the responses that I got from people. It just made me curious about what is really running the program here. And the subconscious mind, I believe, personally, I don't even know if this is scientifically proven, but I feel like, and I don't know, but I feel like the subconscious mind and the ego are working together against us. But it's all out of love, out of a blind love, out of an unconscious love to keep us safe. And so as
I think there's a lot also that comes from external forces,
yes.
right? The conditioning that we've had from, and again, I'm not saying this in a bad, negative way. I'm saying, but we have been programmed and conditioned our whole entire lives. Like, why do we believe the things that we believe?
Mhm.
Why, why do we see things the way that we see things? And it's because we're having external noise. We
Mhm.
go into schools, we go, some to churches, and like, there's the news and the TV and the entertainment, all these things. We are being bombarded with information all the time. So that has a lot to do with that too. It's not just us.
Right. No, exactly. So you have the collective one mind, conscious mind, and you have the collective unconscious mind as well. We won't even get into that because there's two minds. There's the one total mind, but they're both conscious and the unconscious part. So I was just that made me think about something. So when people want to work with their subconscious mind, you hit on it. There are things that were said and done or we learned when we were very open that come in and form our unconscious mind. So when you go through the awakening process and those unconscious thoughts come up when you're working with a practitioner, let's say somebody like me, and those things come up, they have to be seen, loved, and integrated. And I talk about this in my book. So if anybody wants to know more about this, you can, see it in the book. It's a short little memoir, but I talk about this at the end of it, that those things have to be loved because they become their own timeline. Think of it like all these versions of these timelines that are going on at one time. You're present in this moment, but that version of that timeline is still running. That program is still running. And so when that program comes up through awakening or while you're in the creative process and it brings up a memory, which is great about painting, you can be painting. Where's the mind going when somebody is needle pointing? Where's your mind going when you're gardening? Where's your mind going when you're painting or you're drawing? It's going to the subconscious. That's where it goes. That's what's so
That
great.
would happen. That would happen to me when I was vacuuming and I didn't even really know it. But I'm vacuuming because you're just,
Mhm.
and so things would start coming up. I'm like, this, also in the shower for me. I'm in the shower and like I get downloads and things like that. But like just doing something mundane like vacuuming, because you don't need to think when you're vacuuming,
Exactly.
right?
You're kind of on
Yeah.
autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but my experience has been that uh, in the subconscious mind, I don't know, I would equate it to Scorpio energy in a way. It's like the hidden dark swamp. We don't really want to go there, because it's scary in there. We don't know what's going to show up. But when people are operating 100% from unconsciousness, just programs, that's where you're going to see war. That's where you're going to see division. You're going to see competition instead of cooperation. And so to become conscious means that we are no longer going to be operating as a collective in that unconscious realm. Then we can eradicate hatred and war and all of those things. But it comes back to the individual self. If I'm afraid of my own unconscious mind, if I'm afraid of my own subconscious, if I'm afraid of my own programs and I'm not willing to go in there and bring them up and love them and integrate them and see them and acknowledge them, then I'm not going to be able to love the unconscious part of another person. I'm not going to be able to. And what happens, the byproduct of this, ooh, goosebumps again, is that now when I meet somebody, I can see their patterning. I can see it. I can be in a room, I can walk into a restaurant, I can feel it, I can see it, I can know it. And therefore, my interaction with them, coming from a higher state of love and consciousness, compassion, can meet them where they're at without judgment.
Mm, I love
And
that.
that goes into bodhicitta. That goes into being the Buddha of compassion. Compassion
Yeah.
for all, regardless of where they are.
Yes. One of my favorite words is Ubuntu, and it's an African word. I think it's Zulu, and it means I am because we are. We are
And
all.
that's what Dr. Bert Hellinger, when before Dr. Bert Hellinger created family constellation therapy, which I love facilitating, he was a priest in Germany, was sent on mission field to the Zulu tribe, and he worked with the Zulu tribe. And he learned that from them. And he was so fascinated because they would look back at great grandfather, great great grandfather. If a child was born blind, they would look back to the ancestry to see where the rupture was. And they would go back and heal that ancestor to create a different fate in the existing ancestor. And he was so fascinated by it that he went back and got his PhD in psychology and combined shamanism with psychology and created the family constellation paradigm, that system. And that's what I discovered in 2006, and then went on to become a practitioner in that. And I have been, since 2008. And a lot of what I share comes back to that Zulu moment, to that exactly what you just said.
Yeah, again, my body has been with goosebumps this entire conversation. And I think it was in our first conversation too. We are so connected. We speak the same language. Our souls know each other. And
Yes.
I love the work that you're doing. I absolutely love you. I think you are a gem and gift to this world. And you're
Oh,
definitely a gift to me. And maybe we
thank
should do something together in Sedona.
Yes, we should. We should do something. I've been wanting to do a women's retreat, and that would be great to collaborate on that and get a bunch of women together and do like a little retreat with them.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off camera. But
Off
um,
camera.
Ellie, would you give us one piece of information that you want to leave our audience with to take away from this episode, and also tell people where they can find you?
Well, they can find me online at ellenbenfatti.com. Number one, you can find my book on Amazon. And the one thing that I really feel is like pouring in, I'm so emotional about it, is to trust your knowing, to trust yourself, regardless of what any other input is. We know when we know the next step we're supposed to take. And I would leave the viewer with that. Trust that first step. Don't second guess it. Trust yourself. And and I'm so glad that I did, that I took the first step and I trusted myself in that little tiny step to pick up the paintbrush and start painting what I was seeing. Um, it has completely transformed who I am and what my voice is in the world. And it has given me the opportunity to touch your heart today and hopefully other hearts. And had I ignored that, we would not be sitting here today having this conversation. And so my message is trust yourself with that first baby step.
Oh, that is a powerful. And it's so funny that you said that, because I'm redoing my courses, and one of the courses is called Take the First Step.
Yeah. And I just watched that movie the other day on 4th of July, What About Bob, with Bill Murray, about with Dreyfus, and he's the therapist and he wrote the book Baby Steps. It's such a cute
There we
movie.
go.
There
More,
we go.
more.
Just the quantum field. That's what conscious mind is about. You just wrote that Baby Steps, or take your step. What was it? Steps?
Take the first step.
Take the first step. I just watched the movie Baby Steps, and then you asked me, what is my message? And I said, trust yourself and take that first step. So we are in perfect alignment. That's 3 times.
I love it. And I love that we're showing people that this is what happens when you start trusting the process, trusting yourself, and saying, look, I don't know how this is all going to work out, but I'm called to do this. And when I pray, I literally always say, you know what? Thank you. First of all, thank you. It's always gratitude. Thank you for everything.
Yes.
And show me the next steps. Show me the way to do the work you've called me here to do.
Yes,
So,
absolutely, 100%. And that, I want to say one more thing about that. And when you know that you're taking the right step, I believe that you will find joy in that. And that's how you know you're on track, because that showed up today in a channel that I just gave. So that, do what brings you joy. That is a first step. So if it should be, there should be some joy in it. There should be some excitement. It should be, I called it, like when I first started painting, like Christmas morning. It would be like, I don't know why I have this feeling of excitement, but I'm just going to do this, right? So be mindful of that too. Yeah.
that's a huge, important step. The things that you love, the things that bring you joy, those are all hints. And we
Hints.
need more of that in our lives. And then that it spreads out to the world. So
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know that we could ever end this I have this conversation with you for weeks and weeks and weeks, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
And
you
I
for
hope we
having
have
me.
many more conversations.
Thank you
And
for
thank
having
you,
me. My heart is full. Thank you.
mine too. And thank you for watching The Secrets of Being. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Secrets of Being podcast. We appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more inspiring content. For further inspiration, visit thesecretsofbeing.com and join our community. Until next time, stay inspired and keep unlocking the secrets of being.